Okay, Don McFarland's going to show us just how to set up the rotor to do the handles on the cutting boards. Right?
Right. Okay. When we did them before, last spring, I brought in my plunge router. We used an upcut spiral and went in and chiseled it out around a pattern I had. I burned that bit right out. So somebody else asked me how to do it on a router table, and this is a much easier process. Okay, so I'm going to show it quickly. Not going to take a lot of time, but this is a quality colored cutting board. And if you remember, I had a cheese board with that. That's the practice there. So number one thing that you use is a straight bit. And this is the same thing that you use if you're doing a shelving unit and you want to put a little mortise in there so your thing will go in. This is the same bit. This, right now, we pay $9.50 over at Busy Bee. So for 11 bucks with tax, it's a good deal. So we club bought one and it'll be here. I do have another one for sale if you want it. I have instructions that I can email to anybody using my table and my bit, and that's a Freud, and that's about 25 bucks. So it's exactly the same, just a little shorter. So, and in the instructions it does tell you the name, but that's what I use in the instructions. So what we're aiming for is a little handle in here, about a ½ inch up, dead in the center, about 4 inches wide. So the first thing to do is to...
Don, can you hold that back up again for a minute so they can see? So we can get it on the screen?
You want this?
Yeah, just show
Let's
the
see your
name
handle.
on the
Yeah.
screen.
Just turn it up.
Up higher.
Here, I'll
Put it so you can see the cover. Turn it like that,
Oh.
yeah.
We need a choreographer.
Say something.
go ahead and set up.
Okay, no, it's
Okay.
fine, Tom.
So the first thing we need to do is to mark the center of this. This happens to be a 12-inch board. I mark the center. I mark up 2 inches one way, 2 inches the other way. This being the center. And this is where we want the handle to go. And I'll show this to the camera in just 2 minutes. So, center, front, and back. One side. Pretty easy to do. So, first thing you want to do is take your fence, and I'm doing it with this. Mine's on track, so it's a much easier scenario. Plus, I have a high fence, so I can do it in basically one setup step. We have to do it on 2. So, number one is to set.
Tom, can you move that chunk of wood out the front?
Yep.
Okay, this lined up with the back of the rubber bit, because what we want to do is go in and cut it out. So, pretty easy. Next thing you want to do is square it up. Okay, take it off the back end here. It's 9 5/8, so down to here. It's pretty close. 9 5/8. A little bit. 9 5/8. It's close. Now, I put that bit in, and I only raised it a 1/4 of an inch. Okay. Because I think you need to take 2 bites at it. You can't do it all in one, especially in hardwood. You're going to burn everything up. Very fancy measuring device, 1/4 inch piece of plywood, 1/4 inch. So you put it on here. Yeah, I'm about 1/4. It's not, doesn't have to be rocket science close, but That one there is close to 1/4. So there, I'm gonna leave that here, so just use it to bring it up 1/4. Next thing, where'd my board go? Okay. So, what we're wanting to do, and you can't hardly see this, is you want your on the screen, you want your board to start here in your routing process. So we'll just put a little back stop here. Then you're going to go all the way down this far for your, so this is the front. Stopper in there. And this is the back end of the router at this end is going to mark up to here. The front end is at this side of the you guys are doing that. I'm going to actually try to cut it. And I've been doing all of this plug up. Don't forget that.
I want to see a cut off the plug.
It's a good safety net, you get points for that.
Oh yeah. Now, the other thing is I've made this little gizmo, doesn't fit right because of the blade, so it may or may not catch it up. But we should, I'll alter this so it will work with this, make it longer than that. So we have the pass one. You can remember the guys doing how long it took? So the next step, and I'm not going to do it now, what you would end up doing at this point in time is turn your board around and do the exact same thing on the other end. And you've got it partially in. So what you want to do is move this back 3/4 of an inch, leaving these in place. Now, repeat the procedure. Now, we've got 2 passes in, both ends, etc. You're up there. Next thing to do is to repeat it all. Move it up to 1/2 inch. Taking your little jig, crank it up to 1/2 inch. Repeat it front and back. And you end up with another board. So it looks like this. 4 passes and you're done. Now, when I do it at home, my is up higher. So I set this in, run it, take it out, and then do it, so I don't have to keep moving my thing. So it's just quicker. If you had a 2x4, somebody here is going to make their own, I would make it out of a 2x4, make it higher, so you could clamp this on and be above it. I can't get a clamp in here to hold this. It's too tight. So,
If you make it higher also, you can kind of hold back and they've got a fixture that would clamp onto there for your dust collector.
yeah, that's what this is.
But I mean, it would collect everything right off.
Yeah, right off the whole table.
Yeah.
That's what this, that's how my fence is this high. It's got two things that move in and out, so it can catch all of these things. It's got a track in the top, and it's tracked this way, so it's much easier. But this is a much easier, quicker process than we did before. So the bit's here. Anybody wants a bit to go home, $11, see me afterwards. So that's, any questions?
When you put your stops there, how did you determine?
The front here, how can I see this? See this? See the front there? I put the back down here at the other end. Okay, and then I go this way, and it's this side of the blade that's on this side. Yeah.
But you could lay it down, set it up.
Yeah, that's how I do it, you know.
Hold it against it, then yeah.
Yeah, you hold it against it.
Then there's no guesswork.
Yeah, I usually put a little mark on the top where you can see. It's not like this has to be 4.0 inches, and it doesn't have to be a ½ inch. It can, you know, we're not working in thous here, we're working in what looks nice. So, because you may want to alter the distance here on an end grain cutting board, depending on where your boards are. You may want to go a little bit this way or a little bit that way, so you're right on where a square is. So.
Depending how fat the recipient's fingers are.
Yeah, you might want to go thicker. But the ½ inch seems to be not bad. In fact, guys like me, works. Now, then you have to do your roundovers. Where I use 1/4 inch top and bottom. Can't get in here, I do it with a Dremel or something just to round it over. Nobody sees it anyway, so that's how I do that's how I'm doing mine now. Wayne?
Donnie, why don't you set the board right back at the depth that you want, right at the beginning, and just make that one cut and then...
Well, then you got a round part. The front part won't cut out. You could then go
Yeah.
and squiggle it around.
Right.
But I'm trying to get it so that it's, you know, not going to burn the blade out. If you set it back 3/4 and go in, across, and duck, you get a U shape in here. Okay? This piece in here you then have to take out on a second pass, and you're not under control of anything. It's just, as I say, I do it like pass 1 like this, pass 2 like that. But this is not high enough to clamp it to, so you have to just move it twice. Move it, you know, from 1/4 up to a ½ do it all over again. You probably do it in 10 minutes, start to end, compared to what we were doing before. So, any other questions?
What were you adjusting under the front?
I turned it on and off.
No, it was on, and then you were reaching under there doing something.
We turn the rotor on, yeah.
Turn the motor's on underneath, okay? But when you want to turn it up, height-wise, there is a knob there to turn it up. I was doing that beforehand. There is the knob to raise it lower, right there.
Yeah. You turned the vacuum on first, which made the first noise.
The first noise was a vacuum. I'm trying to keep the dust down as much as I could for here. And this just has to be altered somewhat to fit this. And I was doing it by memory, didn't realize it, forgot that it was this high. Al?
What about, instead of putting the handhold underneath, what about using like a bullnose bit and putting it in the edge, because these boards are quite thick? And then you could use the board on either side.
Mike Keller does his that way. Put a bullnose, you go this way, you stop, and you have a start and stop. It's exactly the same.
Except the bullnose in the middle.
And the bullnose down the middle.
Yeah.
That's another way of doing them.
Yeah.
It's hard to get that bullnose fat enough though. It takes a big bull. I don't have a bullnose that big, so.
So what is a bullnose? Just a round one?
Around.
Want to buy one? Want to buy a bullnose set?
I'm waiting to inherit it.
I'm waiting to inherit.
I think Rob's got one for sale.
Rob's never been out of the case.
Any other questions for Don? Anyways, thanks, Don.